Hi, this is John Barnes, and you're listening to Kop On.
Welcome to Kop On podcast, you flaky and crispy semen. Semen is something that I got from the market this morning. It's a Moroccan flatbread made with sort of semolina flour. It's absolutely delicious. And I've had a heck of a day. I've eaten this beautiful Moroccan flatbread with some, they stuffed it with some like tomatoes and onions and all that stuff for lunch. I've been out enjoying the nice weather, with the boy. He's about to turn 2 years old, so he's in that sort of psychopathic stage where he's trying to run into every road, and so you've got to be on guard to keep him going. The little blighter, love him to death, of course I do. And then went inside to watch the football, 3 to 5 p.m. here, and I was terrified for most of the match. I was terrified despite the fact that it makes no sense to be terrified. It makes no sense. We're miles ahead. Even if we'd lost that game, we would have been 10 points ahead. We know that, but fear is not rational. You cannot rationalize with fear. You can try, but it's just a feeling, and these are emotions, and the emotions are part of why we are on this wonderful long-term roller coaster that is supporting Liverpool FC, top of the league, Premier League winners in waiting. Liverpool FC, we have a lot to talk about. I'm delighted, absolutely thrilled, could not be more delighted to be joined by Faye and to be joined by Kev. Faye, how were your nerves?
Well, I think, like you said, we are in touching distance now. And for me, the first 5 minutes, I thought, wow, we're going to have some goals here. Liverpool looked sharp. They looked together. And I thought, wow, this is going to be a nice little comfortable game. And then 10 minutes into it, again, very complacent. I thought, again, the thing is, like I said earlier when we were chatting off air, Owen, I think because Arsenal keep handing it to us, we kind of go into all these matches just thinking, oh, we've just got to turn up. There's no anxiety amongst the team, I wouldn't have thought, really, because they were just playing football as if like there was nothing to go for. And they're like I said, they're in touch and distance now, and it's difficult. I think it must be really hard because to be that far ahead, I don't know. I'm wondering, as an athlete, it's good to have nerves to play for matches. When you haven't got that nerves and the anxiety, it's probably difficult to get your game together. So I think it's the same for the supporters. We don't know which way it's going to go. And, we're just all sort of just anticipating lifting the trophy now. So, like I said to you last week, it's a bit of a, I don't know, I don't like using the word anti-climax, but it is.
That's interesting. An anti-climax. See, for me, it's like a slow burner. There was somebody on the Anfield Wrap a few years ago talking about when Liverpool were top at Christmas. Martin Fitzgerald, his name is, very erudite kind of guy. He's a very good contributor to listen to on the Anfield Wrap, in my opinion, because he was talking about when you're top of the league at Christmas, then everything is top of the league. The Christmas turkey becomes top of the league turkey. And the roast potatoes become top of the league roast potatoes. And this is the way that I'm thinking about things. It's like everything as I'm walking around trying to save my boy's life by stopping him from running in front of a car for about the 50th time. I'm thinking, well, this is top of the league, Dad saving. Everything's top of the league and winners to be. But it is a fantastic achievement, right, Faye?
100%. Oh gosh, yes, I'm not disputing that. I just think that we've been used to the seasons when there's been 2 and 3 points in it, us and Man City, and that's, you know, you're on the edge of your seat. I'm not on the edge of my seat, I'll be honest with you.
I
You
see,
know,
yes.
you might be on the edge of your
Yes.
seat, Aaron, but I'm certainly not. I'm just thinking, let's get this over with now. We've got what, we could win it next week. Apparently we could win it next week. If Arsenal lose and we beat Leicester, we've won the Prem. And I'm just thinking, really?
Well, yeah, no, that's very good. Very fair indeed. Very fair indeed. Kev, aka Spider_LFC, that Spider guy is here with us. Kev, welcome back. You don't strike me as a nervous man. You're a bit of a top of the league roast potatoes kind of man.
Yeah, I am. I do agree with Faye about the kind of luxury or the flair or the adrenaline excitement for the last gasp kind of, you know, jump up and winner kind of situation. I mean, nothing for me compares to sitting and watching the Champions League final in 2005 and that comeback and feeling that adrenaline build up and everything happen, you know, all into one until that, you know, the final leveler goal and the stops by Dudek, the double saves, and Jamie Carragher's last, you know, tackles and nuts. Yeah, I totally get and agree where Faye is coming from. That that oomph that it gives you when you're just winning it on the last day or just getting it, it's not quite there. But I don't mind doing this one and getting it out of the way just to get back on track with winning the league again. And this time with the fans, you know, we'll celebrate it like nothing else. But then, you know, you're going to see more competition from next season onwards. And I think we're going to be involved in the first time ever, in a long time. I'm probably going to be excited about a transfer window because I think there's something actually going to happen in this window. Slots alluded to it a few times. He even came out and said that Mo Salah's contract and Virgil's contract have nothing to do with the budget, and which is great. So that just goes to show you that he is definitely in the market. You know, there's been actual credible talk about representatives of Isak talking to us since March, which is nuts to say that that's actually come out. So, but if that's a thing, it's a thing. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But it's an exciting thing, I should say. And it's something I'm looking forward to seeing. It's the first transfer window. I hate transfer windows. It's the first one I'm going to look forward to in a long time, I think.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be intriguing. But we're going to stick with the footy for now. And after the footy, what we're going to do, we're going to watch the highlights because it's nice to go through the highlights. We're going to go through the highlights and we're going to explain them to you, the dear listener. And then as we explain them to you, as we go through, we're going to talk about, you know, things around it. Of course, the game started with an impeccably observed silence for the 97. I mean, I am always unsure even about that number because there was one fan, or at least one fan, who unfortunately ended his own life out of guilt because he gave his tickets away to some people who I believe died in that crush in Hillsborough. And it's such an awful thing. It's such an awful memory. And anybody who might be listening to this who was directly affected, as in friends or family members, then, you know, obviously everyone at Kop On, everyone here, myself, of course, send all of our great love and support to you because it was massively impactful, even for people who didn't have friends and family there. I mean, I'm just talking about from my own perspective, being miles away on the island of Jersey. It's actually a huge memory from my childhood was just how awful that day was. So kudos to West Ham fans and everybody in that ground for really having a very beautiful tribute. And the, you know, You'll Never Walk Alone was extremely poignant today. And I think maybe, you know, as they said at the end of LFC TV, maybe the 97 were watching over us, given the way that the game panned out. Kev, what you wanted to come in there?
No, it's just a second, just to, as you were saying, praising the West Ham fans. There was actually right at the end when the referee blew his whistle, before the fans even showed up, there was a West Ham fan in the away end that shouted justice. And yeah, if you listen back to it, it's from the left-hand side down the thing, and somebody mentioned it later. But I'd just like to say, like, unbelievable respect from the West Ham fans today for the 97. Just
fantastic.
Very used to.
Yeah, that's good to know. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. The game kicked off. It was West Ham who kicked off. Playing it back to Areola, who again, I thought he had a decent game. He always seems to have a decent game, but then if you talk to fans of the clubs he's played for, they're always a little bit unconvinced about Areola for one reason or another. But he always seems to have a fairly decent game against us. But anyway, the start, as Faye was saying before, Faye was saying the control, the focus seemed to be everywhere. I mean, after 5 minutes and 20 seconds, Lucho Diaz got the ball at his feet on the edge of the area, stepped inside his marker. I believe it was Jean-Claire Todibo, stepped inside another West Ham player, and Wan-Bissaka, and had a sort of snapshot with low backlift that caught the keeper slightly unaware, and unfortunately Jota was not quite. He was decent enough positioned, but he wasn't luckily positioned. He was a little bit unlucky that the goalkeeper's parry went past him, and West Ham were able to clear. But Lucho Diaz in that opening half, especially, Faye, Luis Diaz. Let's talk about his performance, because he's got Cody Gakpo to worry about, but who is an incredible player as well. But Lucho he does so much, doesn't he? Yeah. Whether he scores or assists or not, he does so much for the team. We missed him last week.
Yeah, I put a little thing down that Diaz is probably the most underrated player in the Liverpool squad, because his work rate is absolutely second to none. You know, it's the things that he does off the ball that people don't see. I go to watch quite a few matches, so you can see it. You know, you can see what he's doing. He's dragging players to the left-hand side, right-hand side, wherever he plays, because he's not fussy, to be honest. But I just think that we could be losing him this summer, apparently. I've heard rumours that he could be going, and that's a right shame, because to me, why would you want someone like you? How are you going to replace someone like him? It's a bit like Firmino and Mane. I knew we'd never replace those sort of players, but Diaz came in straight away, and I remember his first game, and we thought, wow, this guy's electrifying. He's just great. I love him. I really like Diaz. He hasn't scored as many goals as he could have, I've got to be honest, but he causes a lot of disruption.
He does, and as you say, that defensive work rate and the disruption is a great word. Yeah, he so much fear he causes. Yeah, very well said. I mean, I think he's got now 10 goals and 5 assists in 30 Premier League matches, which is decent. But then you add everything else he brings to the team, and that's fantastic. But I mean, Kev, if those rumours are true, and I've heard them too, that he is off, we better get someone in who's mad good at defending as well.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with some points of yours for the player. His output is, to me, is not on point where I want it to be, near the Mane level or, an assist level. I mean, his job is to kind of run the wings and cross balls and stuff like that. If he helps back when he tracks back and defends, that's great. And my only problem with Luis Diaz is that he was quite one-dimensional for a long time, where he was always trying to shift to his right foot, always trying to come into the centre of the box. And if I saw more of him going up the left-hand side to the byline and actually putting in a couple of crosses, that would have been great. It's only recently he's starting to do that again. But just the output doesn't match the talent. And I don't know whether he does tend to play better through the centre for me, on the slot, and with maybe Gakpo on the other side. But we haven't seen much of that the second half of the season because of the injury to Gakpo. So, we might have just seen a glimpse of it there earlier when Gakpo came on, because I just think Gakpo is just so direct on that left-hand side that it's hard for Diaz to kind of keep pace with him once he's in full flight and he's on that left-hand side. He'll score goals for you. He'll create chances. You know, Mo Salah always seems to find him. Whereas Luis Diaz was the guy that controls the ball. He comes back. He helps defend. He's a workhorse. Luis Diaz could be the perfect even upgrade or replacement for Bobby Firmino if he was just played like that. But he drops sometimes a bit too far out wide. And a little bit too far to the left for me to see that kind of factor, whereas Bobby always kind of stayed central quite a lot, and everything kind of went through him. Diaz could be that player if he just stayed in the centre, but he doesn't. He just wants to be on the ball a lot, so he kind of gets himself involved. Great work rate, as Faye said, and as you guys said, like I can't knock his work rate, but I could say the same about Nunes. Nunes works and works and works, but then there's no output at the end of it, and you know sometimes we don't have the luxury of in a team like Liverpool to wait around for when are they actually going to bring up that GA level to a level that's going to suit rather than just being a really good player on the ball and working hard, you know. So there has to be kind of an end output after a couple of seasons. It's grand at the start. We gave Nunes has got 3 seasons and he's always been above like a 15 GA, but I mean, it's kind of not good enough for a striker in the Premier League anymore these days. You know, you want to be up around 20, 25. So, and that's what you're kind of looking at. But if Diaz goes, the money will be there and somebody else will come in that will still, remember, this is Klopp's team and Slot needs, he's going to buy what suits his style of football and that's what he inherited from Klopp. He did it at Feyenoord. He improved the team when he came in. And then by the time the second season came around, he sold 17 players, even fan favourites, and bought 17 players and sold a load of fan favourites. And, you know, as you said before, won the league that season, won the cup the following season. And, yeah, it's been, I love Diaz. I just wish he would just contribute a lot more to assists and goals.
It's the output for you, yeah. What do you reckon, Faye?
Yeah, 100%. Everything that Kev's saying is exactly right, and particularly, like I said, that Firmino position. But Nunes, going back to him, he wasn't even in the squad today. He wasn't even in the squad.
Apparently, he might have been ill.
I don't know
whether that's
I
true.
don't know if he's slot. I think he's another one, sadly, that will be gone in the summer because I don't think he's one of Slot's players, and I doubt we'll see Trent play again this season either. For some reason, I've got that funny feeling as well. Honestly, Paul Nunes. I like Kev says his work rate is second to none. Just don't get the output, and the same with Diaz. Like I said, I love him. You know, he's underrated, but he doesn't score enough or assist enough. So, yeah, he's another one. So I think Diaz and Nunes, we might say goodbye to them at the end of the season, sadly.
Well, you know me, and you know how much of a nerd I am for the old stats, and so obviously been following Luis Diaz and his sort of output stats, and there are lots of games where, for example, when he goes on a streak, which is what he has done a couple of times, where he looks absolutely hot, he for example, has 2 shots and has 2 goals, or has 1 shot and 1 goal. And today he actually managed 4 shots, which was the equal best in our team with Alexis McAllister, oddly. They both had 4 shots each. So that is an improvement from Luis Diaz, because I think that's encouraging. The more he can actually take the shots, and, you know, the more he might be able to improve those numbers if he does stay. But I do have the suspicion that you both may be onto something about with him leaving. I'd be very happy if he stayed. I would be very happy if he stayed, but at the same time, goals and assists as an attacking player take the weight off Mo to get, for example, 20 goals plus assists minimum per season would be great. But if Lucho Diaz plays like he did today, next season, then let's keep Lucho. The next highlight was Virgil van Dijk stroking the ball left to Tsimikas. Lucho again getting the ball, playing it back to Gravenberch, who played this chip over the top that perfectly eluded the centre-back, and there was a lovely first touch by Jota, who laid it back to Diaz, who played this curling cross from the edge of the area that was well headed away, I believe, by Kilman. And then it came to Bradley, and his shot deflected just wide. And I want to have a chat about Conor Bradley, but before that, I'm going to bring Kevin.
No, it's just quickly about Gravenberch. You were saying there that you just said about like how lovely and sublime that tip was. And he had a great game to get, like winning balls back, you know, getting into positions where the angles couldn't be pressed. He was let down a couple. When Macca started getting tired, that's when West Ham were able to kind of press through us in the centre and split us a little bit more. But I had somebody come into my watch along today and said, "Get that Gravenberch is just terrible. Get him off that pitch. Get him out of the thing." And everybody just went at him in the chat. And this dude was so adamant in his own head he didn't like Gravenberch. And he's just like, I had to try and explain to him that he's not playing as a number 6. He's playing as an anchor, like a low anchor. And Mac is the higher anchor. He said he's not no 6. He's doing roles that 6 players should do. But I said that's not his role. His role is to be creative as well as defensive. And whereas you mostly see number 6 being an enforcer, kind of the guy that kind of lays the pathways for the guys either side of him to receive the ball. And I actually had to explain what the role was for him, but he was so adamant today. I couldn't believe it because I thought Gravenberch had a great game today. You know, up to the point where him and Macca kind of looked tired for the last 10 or 12 minutes.
Yeah, but this does bring me back to duels. And Gravenberch, when he plays well, like against Everton, I believe he had 11 duels. The Everton 1-0 victory. He had 11 duels, which is absolutely phenomenal. But this is something that we was breaking news last week on Kop On, was the fact that from the Plymouth game to the Fulham game, we lost every single match in terms of the duel count. We had fewer duels won than our opposition in 12 consecutive games. And at half time today, we were ahead in the duel count. And I was very enthused about that because I was thinking about breaking this run. But by the end of the game, yet again, we lost the duel count. We lost the duels. We lost the battle of the duels. West Ham won more duels than us, and that's something that is pissing me off. Excuse my language.
But we haven't got the right balance, and either like I don't think Curtis Jones was good defensively either, and that leads to a factor when he's playing. When Szoboszlai's on, we seem to have better ratio. But when I like Curtis Jones for his attacking prowess, but I just wish he would attack a bit more. You know, instead of turning around and passing the ball back. Like if Jordan Henderson was doing what Curtis Jones did over some periods of games, he'd be slated for passing the ball across and back way too much instead of going forward. And this is the problem with Jones, because I think Jones is phenomenal. You like it?
No, I like it. I know what you're saying. You're saying he keeps the ball. He takes too many touches, and I get that. I do, but I like what he does with the team. I like the fact that he's keeping the ball in those places, and
I don't mind when we're kind of being ganged up at a bit where you can receive and hold the ball, but sometimes when we're like on a counter attack or something like that.
Yes, on a transition. I agree.
But he's terrible on transitions for releasing the ball quick enough, and that's the problem with him mainly. And it's defensive wise as well. I'd like to see a lot more defensively out of him, rather than only needing to defend when somebody else is not there. Whereas like if Szoboszlai is there, he's in and he's helping around, you know. So
that's fair. Sorry, I just want to bring Faye in here, but to go on what you're saying there, that it's very fair. I mean, McAllister had 4 tackles, Gravenberch had 3, and as far as I can tell, hang on a moment. No, sorry, McAllister had 3 tackles, Gravenberch had 3 tackles, Curtis Jones 2 tackles, according to WhoScored.com. Alexis McAllister 1 interception, Gravenberch 1 interception, Curtis Jones no interceptions, which is very normal for Curtis because he's very bad at interceptions. And in terms of clearances, Curtis Jones was playing too far up. He was playing in the Szoboszlai role, so we won't really count those. Faye, what would you like to say? Excuse me.
It's interesting because, again, Kevin's just hit the nail on the head, and I have got Jones no impact today. Honestly, he had no impact in the game today, and he's another one. He blows hot and cold, Jones. They're not consistent players. I like a player. You know what you're going to get from McAllister. Doesn't matter what sort of game it is. You know you're going to get probably a 75+ game, and that's percentage I'm talking. You know what you're going to get from Salah, because Salah sometimes he doesn't get much of the ball, but then he'd go and score a goal or make an assist. Jones, I really.
It's like a mood fade, isn't it? It's like it's like whatever mood you get with Jones on the day. It's how he turns up. It's like a mood thing. If he's in the mood to do something,
couldn't disagree more. I couldn't disagree more.
Oh, and I don't see him as an impact player. He doesn't. You know, like
Yeah.
Kev was saying, sometimes we need to be going forward, and then we're faffing around and we get it to the side again, sideways. Oh, where's Alisson? Oh, let's knock it back to him. Let's get forward.
He has the ability, Jones, a phenomenal ability to create a forward pass, but he doesn't do it enough.
No.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're both saying, and it's very valid what you're saying, and I totally understand anybody who agrees with you, and I'm sure many people do. But for me, today, for example, Gravenberch had 49 passes in the match, 85.7% passing accuracy. Okay, about 86% passing accuracy from 49 passes. McAllister only had 36 passes with 83% passing accuracy. Reasonable figures from both of them. Curtis Jones had 45 passes, so fewer than Gravenberch, but his passing accuracy was 95.6%. And I know
how many of them went forward.
That's what I was about to say. Before you say how many of those were forward and how many were sideways, I know that most of those are short passes. They're safe passes, okay? But it's a crucial thing for the team. And I think Curtis Jones is this season's Gini Wijnaldum in terms of how underrated his role is in Liverpool's success, because Graham Potter today set West Ham up very intelligently in terms of flooding central areas. It was very, very difficult to have any kind of space, which is why we didn't create many big chances, because all of the central areas, you could even see, we're only 14 minutes into our highlights, but how many West Ham defenders are there in the box, outside the box, whatever. But most of them are in the box, but they're all there and they're compact. And there is the room that Curtis Jones has to play in. If you lose the ball there, which, you know, we did more and more actually in the game, but if you lose the ball there, then that is playing into Graham Potter's tactics. If we lose the ball where Curtis Jones played today, they're on the break. Their fast lads are on the break. And we didn't see their fast lads on the break. We saw Kudus a couple of times. He's absolutely brilliant, bursting with the ball and keeping the ball, using his strength. But there weren't any big transitions of like that you see in open games. And part of that, for me, in my opinion, is Curtis Jones and how brilliantly he keeps the ball, because it looks easy and it looks simple, and indeed it is. But by keeping it simple, he's playing a fantastically important role for us. I don't know. What do you reckon, Faye?
No, yeah, and you're probably right, Owen. And we don't know what the directives are. He's probably been told that's what you're going to do. That's your aim today. Exactly like you said, Owen. You need to keep the ball and make sure we don't lose it in those crucial areas, because, you know, it's just strange that I have Jones and Jota for me today. The two that I didn't really feel had an impact on the game, and that's strange that Kevin brought Jones up and you've brought Jones up. But yeah, we don't know what the directives are. So yeah, you're right, he doesn't give the ball away. What I'd love to know is, though, how many touches Van Dijk and Alisson had today. That would be very interesting to me.
Well, Virgil van Dijk had 66 passes and 95.5% passing accuracy, including 7 out of 8 long balls.
Yep, there you go.
That's not short passes.
No,
whereas Curtis Jones only tried 1 long ball, and that was one of the 2 passes that he missed, or 3 or 4 passes.
That's interesting, because that is where a lot of our play is, in defence, more than the attacking area, if you see what I'm saying. You know,
massive weapon.
I totally agree with what you're saying here, Owen, in these scenarios here where Jones has no outlet and he needs to hold the ball. Perfect. It's a perfect football kind of game for him. My only issue is that because Liverpool we do a lot of transition football where we do allow some of the possession to go to the enemy, let's say, and then we need to kind of move it forward, and it's just those extra touches. It's just something about Jones that he's not the complete article to be. He can be, and he's important in certain aspects. But I do agree with you that he is the kind of Gini Wijnaldum player, but I still don't think he's at that level of what Gini Wijnaldum did for us. I mean, Gini Wijnaldum was good defensively. He was good in transitional play. He was good as an anchor player. Jones is really good at holding up the ball and you know, and keep it, let's say, possession game. So that's why Slot likes him, because he's the guy that will keep the possession for you, and he's the guy that will do that. But then he's playing in almost like right midfield to right attacking midfield role, and you'd like to see a lot more produced out of him, as in crosses, passes, assists, something like that. And that's his main role. So, like, for me, I get it. Like that the control and the passing and all that, the accuracy is brilliant. But if it's not leading to anything, other than, because I'm watching when there's certain scenarios that maybe out of all of those 95% passing, that maybe 25% are actually positive for the team, and the rest is just kind of getting through the game, as in like holding position, playing it off to a player that's doing something else, or, you know, he's not really doing much himself except for just being a pass anchor, really.
Yeah. But for me, this is unselfish, and this is crucial.
Yeah, it can be. But look, this is great. This is the position that he can be in. There's no other outlet for him. This is the time he should be able to hold the ball, turn and shoot. But most of the time he's left in space, or there's somebody making a run and he doesn't get the head up fast enough when he's looking forward. Looking back, he's always looking around and the ball goes that way, but I only ever see it going to 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock. I never see it kind of going to 12 for the majority of the time. So that's, yeah.
I get it. It makes sense. And we can agree to disagree. Of course we can. But Conor Bradley, I did want to talk about Conor Bradley. We need to get through these highlights. We've got so much to talk about. It's absolutely mad how much stuff there is to talk about from today. But Conor Bradley, Faye, was magnificent. Again, what a talent we have. Of course, we're going to miss Trent. Of course we are. But Conor Bradley, we've already found not someone to replace Trent, because Trent's a genius, but someone to play in his position with a great deal of talent. He's sort of swashbuckling, isn't he, Conor Bradley?
Love him, absolutely. I loved him from when I saw him last season. He's a go-get player, so he likes to go forward. If he's got the opportunity to go down that wing, he'll go down that wing and he'll take players on. I think one of his first goals that we ever saw him score, he took a couple of players on and lashed it in the back of the net from outside the 18-yard box. I remember that goal, and I think he could be a great replacement. He's totally different to Trent because he can defend as well. He's not afraid to go and get back and get a tackle in. I don't know how many tackles he got today, but he's a good player. He's young, he's adventurous, and I like him a lot. He's a very composed player. That's what I'd say. He doesn't seem to be rattled when somebody's running onto him, one of the defenders, where Trent, you can almost see that he's in full sprint when somebody's running at him. His body is out of position a lot, Trent, when the attacker's taking him on, but not with this boy. I think he could be great, but we will need a backup for him, because he was injured towards the end of last season. You get an injury, and what else? We do need somebody else as well.
Totally agree. In terms of your tackles question, he actually got more tackles than anyone else today in our team, with four tackles for Conor Bradley, and he was off the pitch after 67 minutes, of course. So yes, absolutely combative, and he's ready. And as I totally agree, Faye. Yeah, you've nailed it. We need another player. They were saying on commentary on when I was watching it about how they should get somebody experienced. I like that idea, somebody sort of 26 years plus who can play right back. But let's keep going with the highlights. It's 14 minutes, 21 seconds in, and there is a long shot from Curtis Jones that was well fielded by Areola. And then Virgil played this phenomenal pass out to Mo Salah on 16 minutes, 32 seconds. He took on the defender, turned him inside out, turned his knickers inside out. So his underpants were uncomfortable for the rest of the game, which led to the goal, I think. He broke into the box, Mo Salah, and fired one just wide. It whistled wide. And then it came the goal. Then came the goal. Where it was played down the line by Ibu Konate after some nice passing around the back. Konate played it that ball forward, and Ollie Scar is still trying to fix his underpants, went towards the ball when Mo Salah was already running past him because the ball had bounced over Ollie Scales' head. So it was very reminiscent of that very famous goal against David Luiz's Arsenal back in the day for Mo Salah, screaming towards the box, but instead of using his pace and taking everybody on and slotting it in, he played this pass, Kev, that was just poetry. I just want to call it poetry. I remember when, pardon?
Effervescent.
Effervescent, nice word. When we signed Thiago Alcantara and we saw Thiago Alcantara, we were so lucky to see him, regardless of what you think about how angry you may be at his injuries, anybody listening. Just think of the player and what I think about Thiago, the way he plays football, like about 3 times every single day.
Yeah.
Because he had this way of sort of caressing the ball with both feet, with different parts of the foot. That was the thing that was immediately sort of like the back 20% of the foot would be different to the back 15%. And the way that he struck it and how far he would have to swing his leg. And this pass by Mo Salah today came off sort of the area of the laces of the outside of the left boot. And the weight on it was just the genius that Mo Salah is. Do you know that the record that Mo Salah broke today with this one wonderful assist, Kev?
Was this the most goals and assists or something for a winger or something?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Not for a winger, but anybody in Premier League.
Anybody? Okay, I thought
he overtook Erling Haaland and Thierry Henry, who both had a combined 44 goals and assists in a Premier League season. And Mo Salah has overtaken them. He's now on 45 for this season. It's so mad how brilliant he is. Talk to me about either this assist, Mo Salah, the new contract, if you want. We can do that now, whatever you like. But
it can be all tied in together. When you're talking about the parts of the foot as well, I look at it like acupuncture. You know parts of the body and parts of things and what certain parts of the body can do, except for it's the opposite way out. So it's how they can. It's like where we use acupuncture to kind of get the certain spots of the body to relax us and calm us. These guys can control these certain parts of the body to create the type of pressure that they want to release from the foot. They know exactly the spot to hit it with. They know exactly the place to just with a slight movement of the foot, and they feel it. It's not just a unnatural thing. It's actually very natural to them to do this. So obviously it's tricks you pick up over time and stuff from experienced players. That's why they're called experienced players. But there's a natural ability to most players, and Mo Salah's got that, in abundance. He's had it from day one. Jose Mourinho seen it when he was at Basel, try and bring him to Chelsea, but he couldn't get the best out of him because of the style of football Jose played, didn't suit. And, we were almost in for him as well at the same time. And he said he regretted that time turning us down and going to Chelsea, at that stage. So, but like... How much we've loved that he's come back and decided to come to us, a couple of years later in his career. He's become, I put him on par with Steven Gerrard for the best player that's ever played in the Liverpool shirt. I love Kenny Dalglish, I love Robbie Fowler, I love Ian Rush. Rush is always going to be a great goal scorer, but I'm talking about all-round individual players and what they can do on the ball. Rush and Fowler were out-and-out goal scorers. Gerrard was just an all-round genius in everything that he did. A powerhouse, a tackle master. Salah, he there's not many people, there's no winger in Premier League history that can compete with the best strikers that's ever played in the Premier League. And that's where I'm kind of going. You're comparing a winger to out-and-out strikers or out-and-out false nines or some of the people that were best ever at it. You're talking Thierry Henry. For me, I love how Thierry Henry played, and I love how much of a good player he was. But Salah's better for me. He's had more of a legacy. Yeah, he's had more of a legacy in the Premier League. He's surpassed him by a lot. It's eye candy is what people look at when they think of Thierry Henry with the bravado on the ball. And when somebody oozes that kind of bravado, it's very hard to kind of say, I don't want to see that as the best I've ever seen anymore, because it just gave me such a good feeling. when he did it, and feelings are out the window when it comes to the stats of players and what they've actually done in the game. And Mo Salah surpassed Thierry Henry by quite a bit, and I don't think anybody else kind of gets near him really. He well surpassed Ronaldo in the Premier League a couple of years ago. So yeah, for me, like, Mo is up there with the best that's ever been in the Premier League. There's so many different like, this is what we're talking about. People that turn around, they say, oh, he hasn't got enough goals like Alan Shearer, but we're not talking about that. If we're talking about the best goal scorer in history, we're talking about Alan Shearer. If we're talking about one of the best all-round forwards in history, we're talking about Thierry Henry. If you're talking in stylized kind of views, if you're talking about stats and numbers and whatever, you're talking about Mo Salah, who's just done it all, and backed it up with trophies. So yeah, it's just for him. I'm delighted he's after signing a new contract, because I still think we need to bring in somebody to attack his position. Maybe somebody younger, developed, or somebody who's just on the verge. Because I do believe he does need replacing over the next few seasons. But not now, but just somebody who's, available to come up with. Do I see it as Ben Doak? I don't think so.
Yeah, I was just thinking Ben Doak. I wonder how good he will be in 2 years. We'll see, of course. We'll see. But Faye, I want to ask you about Mo Salah. I mean, I've actually explained it to the listeners. I've paused the action on 18 minutes and 13 because it's a moment where we're seeing a replay of the moment where I've paused it at the moment where the ball's about to leave Mo Salah's foot, and we have this wonderful side-on view. We can see how onside Diaz is, and Jota even in the middle. It's a good run by Diogo Jota, by the way, to pull the defender towards the middle of the goal or towards the near post and leave that space behind. But Mo Salah, I mean, it's not just about seeing the right pass, which is the longer pass to Luis Diaz. It's having the audacity to pull it off. And then he must have just this incredible vision of things before he plays it. You know what I mean? Like, he's thinking about it, he's envisioning it, and then he's doing it. If I just let this go, this pass, I mean, it's stunning. Stunning is the word, isn't it, Faye? Talk to me about Mo Salah, the contract, anything.
You know how I feel about Mo. I've got my own little Mo. I've got my lucky doll.
You've got a sort of like the opposite of a voodoo doll, isn't it? It's sort of like a voodoo doll that you can hug and you hope everything's going well.
And he is a lucky doll. I don't care. I know we didn't win at the Carabao Cup with him, but that was the first time he appeared there without Klopp, because I've got a Klopp one as well. And I left Klopp at home that day because I thought, look, it's not your time, it's Slot's time. And look, I mean, he's my lucky doll, and I love Mo. Everybody knows I love Mo. And Mo, do you know what? The other player that I loved when he came to the Prem was David Ginola. He had the finesse, he had the grace, he was a winger forward, just like Mo. You know, he wasn't an out-and-out striker, but he had the class and the finesse, and like you said, they just know what they're going to do with the ball next. Cantona, Zola, Bergkamp, they're all in that same category for me. Classy players, and I can't say enough. And 20 million a year is a snippet, because what was they going to play? If they were going to replace Mo, they'd have had to get the checkbook out for 120 million, to get a new
wages. Yeah, absolutely.
So they're only paying him 20 million a year for the next couple of years, possibly. Even if he did go next year, because it all went pear-shaped, they'd get something for him because he'd have a year's contract left. I think it's great business now that the deal's done. And I can see Mo breaking more records. I mean, this season he's going to get the top goal scorer because Haaland's out now, definitely. Isaac is a bit behind, so I can't see him. He didn't even have I think he only had one shot on goal today, Isaac. So we'll get the top, they'll get the Prem, he'll get the Golden Boot, he'll get the top assist, and it'll probably get another one. There's obviously another one to get there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's a travesty for me if Mo Salah doesn't get a Ballon d'Or this year. I don't care what competition he's not in anymore.
Well, they say always go to the teams that are in the Champions League final, don't they? So
I hate Ballon d'Or. It's a load of nonsense. It's a load of absolute twaddle, as my auntie would say. Twaddle.
Like Lewandowski should have won it a few seasons ago. Virgil should have won it. Mo should have won it. Mo's got to be in the conversation this season. What were you going to give Rafinha or something?
Erling Haaland didn't win it after getting like 40 goals or something in the Premier League. I mean, this isn't La Liga when you're stat padding against Leganés and whoever else. Cadiz. This is the Premier League. Yeah. Much more difficult, of course.
100%. But
so for Mo to get a chance at this, you probably want Rafinha to be knocked out of the Champions League.
Well, I mean, if it means something to Mo, then I hope it happens. But it means nothing to me. It means absolutely nothing. But yeah, on Mo, so I had that very point written down that 400k a week over 2 years works out as 41,600,000. So no one exactly the same point that as you use. Very good point that you can't replace that. Yeah, with transfer fees plus wages on anyone who's going to even come close to what Mo can do over the next 2 years.
Yeah.
On top of that, the joy of him signing on includes his work with the younger players, the shirt sales, the standing of Liverpool in world football as a destination club. This is where you can go, you can spend your career there, and you can play at the top level. You can win everything that there is, and you can just love it so much that you want to give 10 years of your best your best years, all of your best years to
and he'll only be 34 in the next couple of years, so he can go to the Saudi Pro League and get $500 million a year. I mean,
I thought you were going to say he can stay until he's 40, because that's what I ended.
Whatever, but at least if he did the 2 years with Liverpool and we won a couple more, 3-4 more trophies, he's won the Ballon d'Or, perhaps another Champions League, another Prem. Oh my God, he's going to be playing in the best league, and that's going to serve him well for the World Cup, the African Nations Cup, because he's playing in an elite league. And I can see him breaking all records. He'll be just phenomenal. He really will. And good luck. And I'm really pleased that he's a Liverpool player.
If James Milner can play at Liverpool till he's 37, 30 years, why can't Mo Salah? James Milner, he played a lot of games and he broke his body in that kind of time doing those games, but still looked after himself. Mo Salah is still in peak fitness. He might have lost a slight bit of pace on the turn and stuff like that you do when you get into your 30s and stuff. But he could get a second burst of wind, and for 6 months he could do all that stuff, and then for 3 months he mightn't be able to. So it's just it just comes down to really kind of how well Mo looks after himself, and he looked sharp today in the first half of the game. Second half of the game, he didn't see the ball as much because Liverpool kind of dropped off as a whole. He looked really sharp today, and he looked really well. And you can't take that kind of genius away from the team. You can't deny it, regardless of his involvement constantly within the game. That those moments of genius just step up, and that wins you games, and you need that in the game, really. So because he might be as attacking fruitfully as he was a couple of seasons ago by taking people on. And I'm only alluding to the time when he did the Man City and the Watford type dribble, one game after another, because we're kind of all focusing around that kind of period. But even then, he was still doing the same stuff. He's still the kind of same pace and the same speed. It's just it's just kind of less twinkly toes, let's say. But he's able to pull on that left foot and cross a ball to Gakpo and also strike to the far post, all that, as much as he wants. But he links up well with the players. I think he's good for 3 seasons.
No, you're absolutely right, Kevin. The other 2 trophies I was going to say that he could add to the Prem, Golden Boot, etc., is the PFA one, because he'll definitely get the players one, and he'll probably get the journalist one as well. So he could have 5, but he could go away with 5 trophies this season. Mo on his own, forget about the club, himself personally.
This is his 11th season in the Premier League, because he spent 2 years at Basel. He spent 3 seasons in Italy. 3 seasons in Italy. So Wayne Rooney spent 18 years. His first season was 2002-2003 with Everton, and ended with Derby County in the Championship. No, hang on. In the Premier League, he finished in 17-18. With Everton again. So from age 16 to 31, for 15 years, he had 15 years. So that's 4 more seasons than Mo in the Premier League, playing as a striker. And Mo is currently 18 goals behind Wayne Rooney. in the Premier League, and he's number 3 on the list of all-time scorers. Harry Kane, 213 goals. Mo is on 184. It's gettable in the next couple of years, maybe even next year. Who knows? Who the heck knows with the Egyptian king? But the final thing that I want to say about Mo Salah is that by getting the Golden Boot, as we said, probably will, most probably will, almost definitely will, that puts him equal on 4 Golden Boots with Thierry Henry. Only Thierry Henry has ever had 4 Golden Boots total. So it's another one that he's and from the wing, as Kev said, he's just an absolute, he's a genius. So we're watching these, the pass, I can watch it all day. He sort of relaxes and slows down into the pass to get the weight perfect. It's pure genius. I don't know. It's just practice and hard work and dedication and, hours and hours and hours over an entire lifetime of perfecting your art. And then you can create art. Meant a lot to Arne Slot. He's celebrating like mad. And I love Lucho's celebration as well, getting on the, doing the Mo Salah sit down celebration, sit down on the advertising boardings, whatever you want to call them. Go on, Kev.
If you go back one scene there and that video
to the celebration,
just pull it forward a little bit.
Okay.
So as you get there, right there over the arm with the big smiley face of the bearded gentleman behind that goes by the name of Jonathan Poulter, who's a massive home and away fan. He goes home and away for all the games. I know him very, very well. He's a sound lad, but he was directly in the middle of the Sky Sports cameras today with the biggest smile you'll ever see on a man's face. And he's a big lad. But he's almost brought the tears today himself. So he said it himself to me. So.
Absolutely wonderful. That's great to know someone in the crowd. It's a beautiful shot. Because you can see the joy not just on your friend's face, all around, the great joy that just sort of astonishment of just how wonderful all of that is. So is he from Cork, that gentleman in the crowd?
No, he's English. He lives in Liverpool. Him and his missus own a cafe as well in Anfield. So they opened it a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, there you go. Well, I'm delighted for him. I'm delighted for all of the listeners, and I'm delighted for our guests. And heck, I'm delighted for me too. All of the Liverpool family. Because that was lovely. The next highlight was just after the goal, I think, just a minute or two after. There was a lovely ball by YNWA played around the back of Virgil, and it was a one-on-one opportunity for Carlos Soler against Alisson, and he's running into the box. Alisson is, as usual, perfectly positioned. There are no stats, really, I don't think, well, not publicly available ones, of one-on-ones stopped by the goalkeeper, but I don't care who collects these stats or if you've got them. I don't need to look at them to know that Alisson Becker is at the very, very top of saving one-on-ones, because he's like the favourite every time someone goes one-on-one with him. It's absolutely phenomenal. So the first save is incredible, and then Mohamed Kudus gets the ball, makes one touch, and then to set himself, and then with a left foot, it's an absolutely wonderful effort. And he's getting ready to strike the ball as I've paused it, Faye. And Kudus is on the edge of the area. Alisson Becker is basically on the edge of the 6-yard box trying to scramble back. And by the time the shot goes in, the shot goes over his head, because it goes over his head and it's going under the bar. The reactions, the way that he's like Inspector Gadget, Faye, with his go-go gadget arms. How the heck did he save that one?
I think he was a volleyball player in his younger days. I really do, because I don't know if you've watched volleyball. You have got to have the quickest what's the word I'm looking for? Instinct. You've got to be very instinctive as a volleyball player. Low, high, side. And I bet you Alisson played volleyball at some point, because he is absolutely incredible, isn't he? I know we like Kelleher in goal, but he is phenomenal. He has got to be the best goalkeeper in the whole of the Prem. And like you said, on one-on-one
Well,
situations,
The world.
yeah, in the world, absolutely, in the world. Sorry, yeah, and one-on-ones, you feel pretty confident, don't you, that he's going to stop it? Where normally when a player goes through, you think, oh no, you don't think that when they're faced with him. It's interesting. He's amazing, really is. I'd like to know how many stops he's had, goal chances this season. That would be really interesting, wouldn't it?
it would. I could try and find some of those kinds of stats for you. But what I find a little bit, I'm not sure if I'll be able to find stats, because you've got the total shots that West Ham had, but then Mob, which is a good stat site, they count the big chances, and other stat sites do as well, but FOTMob make them publicly available. West Ham had 4 big chances today, and they converted none of them, Faye, because Alisson Becker stopped them all.
Yeah.
And there was that one offside one as well, where it was an amazing.
He didn't know that,
reaction.
did he?
Didn't know exactly. It's absolutely mad. And at the end of the game, there was a very good interview with the LFC TV people and I think it was Peter McDowell asked Alisson a question. He just said, "Thank you very much for your performance." And Alisson was saying, yeah, I'm happy, because I had a good game today, and it's just so nice to have him back. It's the reassurance. You've been out at a festival, Kev, haven't you? And you've been, I don't know, drinking the pints, doing whatever you do at the festival. You've lost your shoe. You've been partying for about a day and a half. You don't know your name anymore. You've got no idea what time it is, but you get back to your tent and your sleeping bag is still there, and your ground sheet and the extra sort of inflatable mattress is there, and it's the perfect temperature, and you're getting into the sleeping bag, and it's the first time you've laid down in hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and it's the most beautiful, comforting, secure feeling, and you know that you're going to have an amazing sleep no matter what madness happens around your tent. That's how I feel about Alisson Becker. Would you?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I got lost of where you started that, because I was enjoying where that was going. I was like, what were we talking about again at the start? So no, he is a warm blanket, isn't he? And he just keeps you snug. He keeps the goals out. As good as I think somebody was questioning something to do with what Marmardashvili said something recently or something. But even though that guy is coming in, and Vivian will get a chance to go to a club and advance his career a bit, Alisson doesn't want to go anywhere. But they do want competition in the goalkeeping ranks with Yaros as well being out of contract at the end of the season. Just a lot of people don't notice that. They know about Trent and Virg and Salah, and then you forget the likes of Yaros and these guys that are also going to be out of contract. And we're going to need a fella in there, and he was brilliant against Real Madrid recently. He's brilliant for Georgia in the championships, and he has been ever since. He's been very consistent. So I say bring on that competition. And if Ali is, maybe we're buying a guy like that, because Ali is probably prone to repeating the same injury that they've probably found now and just not said anything about it. And if that's the case, and we do have a guy, like Marmardashvili to come in and compete, I'm well happy with that. It just means that we're more secure in the goals going forward. And that worry that we've had for so long, from even though Pepe Reina was a great goalkeeper, leaking goals, and Simon Mignolet, with Brad Friedel, David James, with all of these guys that just didn't cut the mustard for a long time. Pepe Reina being the best of the bunch, really. Jerzy Dudek, who's going to be remembered obviously for his heroics in the Champions League final, but before that didn't really, cut the mustard either. So to have somebody like Alisson Becker come in and just solidify his place, just take all 20 years of questioning and worrying about goalkeepers and whatnot. Because Simon Mignolet, he was brilliant at penalty saves, but that dude could not save a ball in his near post to save his life. The amount of goals that went in at our near post when that guy was in goal was just ridiculous, and the balance was just never there. There was always something wrong with the goal. Maybe in Alisson Becker's case, penalty saves are not his strongest point, but we don't kind of tend to get to those too often. So it's not really been kind of a worry for us. But with everything else, he's the best one-on-one staff goalkeeper. He's the best reactionary goalkeeper that I've seen in a long time. And he just makes the defense look like it's effortless. They trust him. They pass the ball back to him whenever they get a chance. They don't worry about him. He doesn't use his feet as much as what he did when he first came in, because he was kind of well known for being similar to Ederson as a sweeper kind of keeper in that kind of way, but he hasn't. I don't know why. Maybe that was just to do with his very first bad injury that he had kind of under us, and he hasn't tended to use his feet much since then. But other than that, that's not what we bought him for. We haven't, because he saves us goals, and I can only imagine the amount of points he's saved us over the last 6-7 seasons that he's been here.
Somebody said
ridiculous.
Somebody said on one of the billions of podcasts that I listen to, or even YouTube shows about Liverpool, somebody was saying that they weren't sure which one was a bigger influence, but Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk were, in this person's words, without question, the two most transformative signings that Liverpool have made since we became challengers, since Klopp took over basically 10 years ago. And to leave Alisson out of that equation is scandalous, because he is as important as anyone on the pitch. If you take those one-on-one situations today, Carlos Soler, there was one in the second half, wasn't there, with Jared Bowen going through. If you are anybody, let's say Arsenal, let's say Man City, let's say Man United, and Bowen is one-on-one, Carlos Soler is one-on-one, you're thinking, oh, it's probably a goal, aren't you? Only Alisson Becker are you thinking, you've got a 5% chance here of scoring. It's mad, the difference, and how easy it is to overlook the brilliance of a goalkeeper. Today it was very obvious because he was just scintillating. But there are other games where he does, one incredible thing at 0-0 or, at a crucial moment, and then we go on to win the match.
I agree with you with the transformative factors. For me, it's always about that time we just reintroduced a new spine into the team with Alisson, Virgil, Fabinho, and Mo, kind of that way. But then I look at other occasions, and I can't, as much as they are probably at the peak of that, then I think of the seasons where Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold were phenomenal as the barreling right and left back, and the times that they were battling up to 30 assists between the two of them for that competition. That was their peak. That was their peak season of a transformative season. And you go to, but Virgil's always been consistent. And then you think of Bobby and Mane's contribution when they were there, along with Mo, to get more of those kind of goals and those levels. So there's stepping stones. Let's say an S tier to an 8, A, B, whatever you want to go that way. And yeah, I would agree. Like Alisson, Virgil, and Moore in that full S tier, and then everybody else is kind of behind that with the backups kind of in between. Because Matip was great when we brought him in, really one of the best free transfers we've ever had. Gomez was great in that 18-19 season where we and the 17-18 season where we almost won the Champions League that time before we went on to win it the next season. And just being so many different stepping stones. As you said, Gini Wijnaldum went under the radar of his importance until he left. It's only when the rest of the fan base saw what the other half of the fan base saw in Gini Wijnaldum. And there's lots of it, but you're definitely right. The transformative players were Ali, Virgil, and Salah. And I would have said at the time, if he survived a bit longer in the team, Fabinho, because for those few seasons those 4 positions up the pitch were just integral to how Liverpool played the game. Yeah,
exactly. I could not agree more. Absolutely. We're going to skip through a bit of the highlights because I am conscious of time. We've been going for over an hour, which has been wonderful, but we're only sort of 30 minutes into the match. Basically, we'll look at the goals because I've still got other things I want to talk about. The one-on-one save we're just seeing, it got to 85 minutes. On the clock, there was a cross came in from the left. Wan-Bissaka had switched to the left, and apparently from the replays you can see Robertson absolutely shouting, going absolutely berserk at Virgil van Dijk, and you can see why in the replay, can't you, Faye? Because Virgil van Dijk hit the ball against Robertson, and Robertson turns around and he said, "Mine!" Like he was shouting, "Mine!" He was shouting at Virgil to leave it, and Virgil didn't. So I'm saying that was Virgil's fault, that own goal. Would you agree, Faye?
Do you know what? These things happen, don't they, at the end of the day? That Virgil's one of those players that I know he's an instinctive player. He wants to clear that ball. So if he thought he had an opportunity to clear it, and he does, he gives away. Sometimes you think, oh, Virgil, why have you headed that out for a corner? But he's a safe defender, and that's why he's so good, because he doesn't take chances. And that's why I love Virgil. You know, sometimes I think there was a couple of situations today, the ball you can see is going to go wherever, and he just heads it out, and you think, why don't you just chest that, Virgil? And then no, he does the very simple things to perfection, and sadly it went wrong. It hit Robbo's legs. Of course he didn't mean to do it, did he? We know that. But he's a very, very clever defender. He's a safe defender, and that's why he's one of the best in the world. As simple as that. And like I said, and I'm glad that Robbo knows that he can challenge him on that. That's great. That's the respect they have for each other, that he can challenge Virg and say, Virg, I did say leave it.
I mean, his face is a real picture. I do encourage anybody to go back and look at the highlights around about 86 minutes and 39 seconds. Robbo's face, in hindsight, because we know what happens next, is pretty hilarious, to be fair, after that goal goes in. But no, really good points, Faye. About Virgil, though, I want to stick with you, Faye, for a moment before bringing Kevin. Did you see, Faye, Virgil's post-match comments to the BBC specifically? Have you seen anything about that? Because if not, I've got a video about it.
No, I haven't seen it, no.
Okay,
no.
I'm going to play you a video, and you'll be able to hear the audio, hopefully, the listeners.
But when is it going to be your week announcement-wise? Do we know yet?
I don't know. I know, but I don't know.
I know, but I don't
I
know.
know, but I don't know. And he kissed the badge after scoring the goal, Faye.
Yes, I saw that, and I thought that's just told me. When he kissed the badge, it just said it's already done, and sealed.
And I think we can see from his face here that I reckon it's the second bit of great news that we're going to have. Absolutely 100%. Great.
Yeah. Because he kissed the badge, he went to the fans behind the goal, he kissed the badge. Now, you wouldn't kiss the badge if you were out the door next week, would you? You wouldn't.
I mean, unless you're like... so I've seen it, actually, from, like, let's say, more absent-minded players. Like, I can't remember who, but people kiss the badge and then they sort of go, oh, no. Like, I've seen that before from other clubs, not from Liverpool players.
No, not from the captain, not the captain of Liverpool.
No, exactly. Virgil's and
I'm glad that he redeemed himself there, and that's the sort of player he is. Like I said, he made sure he leapt higher than any other player because he had to redeem himself, and he did that beautifully.
Bingo, exactly. Because
I love Virgil. I love him. I can't have anything said negatively against him because he is just safe. He's another blanket, isn't he? You know?
Yeah, I don't know who makes your dolls, Faye, but you might have to put in an order for a Virgil one.
You know, I might have to get a Virgil. Absolutely.
Excellent stuff. Sorry, Kev, you wanted to come in.
No, my only point was on the image that you was on there before. Just there was a tale of what happened at that whole scenario. Robertson's anger and Virg with his head in his hands was just in one scene. It just shows you that they knew who was actually at fault for that, which was Virg knew it himself. He heard Robertson's shout, but he thought he was in ahead of him probably. And maybe, you know, as a captain, Virg, you need to take, you know, the fact that somebody's shouting as a responsible, you know, ownership of the ball and kind of just let it go. And that's what happened, you know. It's just he didn't think he was as close to him as what he thought, and he thought he was just going to leave it there, but Virg didn't want to take the risk. It's just a timing issue. It's happened a few times over the last season or two when it involves Virg a little bit, but they're a rarity. But when they do happen, they're kind of remembered. So that's
and we said that last week, Owen, didn't we? We said that's the first time I used the word wobbly for Virg last week. I've never used that word before, but he was a little bit wobbly. And I know why now, because of all this contract talk. And this is exactly what I said to you. You know, there's a lot of pressure.
You called
Yeah.
it, absolutely, and how it has an impact on the team. And if, you know, the old cliche that the team reflects the manager's personality, I do think there's a grain of truth on that. But I also think there's a grain of truth to say how much a captain's influence has on the team as well. And Virgil van Dijk, his mentality, the way that he's a winner, and the level that we stepped up after conceding that terrible goal, the way that, you know, other teams would have wilted and gone, you know, done the Homer Simpson backing up into the hedge kind of stuff. But we didn't. We came out fighting. We came out with all guns blazing, Kev. The reaction was absolutely phenomenal. I do think, you know, I mean, Luis Diaz was really unlucky not to score because it came off Wan-Bissaka, I think, who chucked himself in front of Luis Diaz's shot that led to the corner, that led to the goal. And when this went in, I mean, I was up and running. I was running into the kitchen. And I think I threw a lemon in the air, the first thing I could find. And it was a joyful moment. And then when the dust settled and it came up that it was his second goal of the season, I was like, Virgil, man, you need to score more. And I've said this over the years, he needs to score more. But then I saw a stat, I believe on Reddit, headed goals in the Premier League. And Virgil van Dijk, for defenders scoring headed goals, with discounted Crouch and the likes. Defenders scoring headed goals. Virgil van Dijk is now top of that list, ahead of John Terry, Craig Dawson, and Kurt Zouma on 18 goals. And yes, on one hand, he should score more because he's so dominant, but on the other hand, he is the best in history, so we can't be too harsh on him.
No, we
what
can't.
A player, what a man, and he's gonna sign, Kev.
He's 100% going to sign. Yeah, you can see it by his face. I mean, anybody, you don't have to be a mind reader, you just have to be a smirk reader, really. Because the smirks he's giving off are just a total tell. As a poker player, he's deaf. That's his tell. He can't help but that smirk, you know. He gives you a staunchest stare, which is like a friendly staunchest stare, but then it's followed with that smirk, and he can't help but give it away. But even just before the Virgil goal, his goal here, Kwanzaa had two opportunities, like back to back in like the space of a second to score as well. So he was unlucky not to get that. So we just kind of turned it up 2 gears after we conceded, and we went on to rightfully so. And I think what we said it earlier in the build up, that because Arsenal have been playing so poorly, that we can tend to take the foot off the gas a small bit, and that's the kind of complacency that's been allowed in. And I don't kind of want that. I know we're kind of tired as a team, basically over the last few seasons with the amount of work that Klopp had us do, but in this one, it's because Slot changed it up to a more possession-based football, rather than, like the gegenpressing all the time and this kind of stuff where we press in just phases rather than constant. It's allowed us to kind of be a more complete football side this season. But in saying that, Slot's still going to decimate the squad a bit and bring in the players that are going to suit him with the guys that we already have in there in the elite format.
Absolutely. And speaking of Slot, it was his 50th game, and I looked at the historical stats, as I like to do from time to time. Had a look at it for a while in terms of Liverpool's all of Liverpool's managers, on LFChistory.net. All of the managers' stats are up there. It's an incredible site. I'm sure you know it, LFChistory.net. There was John can't remember, in the 1890s or early 1900s, something around then, who had a 69% win rate. He's second on the list because Arne Slot is at the top with 72% win rate. And I know it's only 50 games, right? But 36 wins, 7 draws and 7 losses in 50 games gives him 72% win rate. And to give you a bit of context in the managers since Bill Shankly, I mean, Bill Shankly himself was 52%, Bob Paisley 57%, Joe Fagan 54%, Kenny Dalglish 58%, Jurgen Klopp 62%. Faye, Arne Slot is at 72%. That's phenomenal. Although it's 50 games, Jurgen Klopp had 491, so it's early days.
Yeah.
But talk to me about Arne. What something that you've loved about him.
So have you got
far.
sorry, yeah, I will talk about him in a second. Have you got the stats for the same amount of games? So like 50 games?
The first 50 games, I couldn't
really
find it. I did have a look,
Yeah.
but I couldn't find
that. To me, that would be the proof of
Mm.
the impact that Slot has had coming in. I said to you a few weeks ago that the thing that I like the most about him is the early substitutions. I think that's key because Klopp used to wait till the 85th minute, and I used to think, what are you going to do in 5-6 minutes? Nothing. You're barely warm. He gets his players on within, after you see the bench warming up at 55, 60 minutes, they're getting ready to come on, and he's given them a good 25, 30 minutes to come on. And I like that a lot. Obviously, he changed the team around today because obviously Alisson was injured anyway, wasn't he? So we knew that he put Simicast came in today, Jones came in today, and Bradley obviously, but he has played a very cautious team, the team that he feels is the team to go out there and win the matches. But my positive for him is the changing of substitution, because I think it's so key. And when we have sadly lost matches, is because he's got the substitution wrong. If you look at the Plymouth and you look at what happened with PSG and us going out the cup the other day, the League Cup Newcastle game, it's about the balance was wrong in the match. So I think that's his weakness, is getting that team balanced in the first place. But substitutions is good. He's not afraid to take off the Salahs. He's not afraid to take off players that Klopp wouldn't have taken off. I think Klopp took Salah off once and they never spoke again, did they? He sulked for months. But he's that's his strength, is the substitutions. But he's showing a bit of his true colours now, Slot, getting a bit animated on the sidelines. He wasn't the first few matches, he was calm and collected, but we can tell that he's got that, that winning mentality inside him, which is good. And I think he's great. I saw him hugging Mo today. He had his arm around Mo at the end of the match, which is lovely. So, I think the players like him, and that's really important.
That is a key, that, the way that they've brought in. I mean, it's credit to the players as well, that they're willing to accept this new manager and, the transition. I mean, it really is phenomenal. I think it's one of those achievements, Kev, that is going to take a couple of years to sink in. The fact that it's his first season and we can go, wow, that's amazing. But it truly, truly is. I mean, I was asking about comparing the first 50 games. I haven't got that, but I have got a stat about the first 50 league games, specifically league games. So Slot's not there yet. He's had 50 in all comps. But in terms of league games, Kenny Dalglish won 30. He's the best. He won 30 of the first 50 league games as manager. Bill Shankly was second on 27 from the first 50 league games. In all competitions, Arne Slot's at 36 out of 50. But I don't know. You could tell me your thoughts about Arne, but I just want to say that just one thing that I really love is the fact that he goes mental when things don't go right. Because that's a key attribute, because he sort of seems like a nice, placid, calm, level-headed bloke. But I like the fact that sometimes those levels go completely skew-if and he loses the plot when they're not up to scratch.
Yeah, and even when you're saying there that Kenny Dalglish was the best in the league with the record, he's actually, you go to the opposite of the spectrum then, and Kenny Dalglish is the worst that we've had in Europe at 25% of the wins. But I don't think he played many games in Europe with Liverpool.
No,
I think that was the ban at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at that time. But that was the That was the thing. With Slat, look, it's early days, 50 games, 72% win is phenomenal. To have that on board with somebody else's team, I might add. And that's the only way I can kind of put it like that. Slat is winning this league in his first term with a team, and all these people can say, you know, all the rival fans can say what they like about saying, oh, he inherited Klopp's team or whatever. Klopp's team were tired the last couple of seasons as well. So if he's inherited that team and then transformed them where they've gone and pretty much almost walked the league this season, and is adamantly open about saying I need to improve players that suit me as well, you know, as well as that. I actually kind of wrote down a list earlier, one of the people that I think could be out the gate in the summer, and it's Jota, Nunez, Elliott, Gomez, Kelleher, Tsimikas, Diaz, Endo, Yaros, and Trent.
Apart from Elliott, and I hope not with Diaz, to be fair. Because I flip flop. Sometimes I'm like, okay, he can go, but sometimes I'm like, no, let him stay. But I think Elliott might stay because he's so young and talented, and even though he hasn't had much of a look in, still he's got a lot of potential. You might be right, but yeah, no, I agree with you on a lot of that. But that means bringing in 10 players or so.
It is, but you know, we're going to upgrade a couple of players. I mean, from through the ranks and what have you. You're probably going to see, because I mean, Owen Beck and all of these guys have had good seasons away, and these kind of guys coming back might be given opportunities. Now, you can't be sticking, like you could do that kind of scenario if Tsimikas has moved on and you keep Andy Robertson as a backup and you're going to kind of rotate that way. But I don't think so. I think we have to go big in the left back position. I think we have to go semi-big in the centre back. I think we have to go big in the forward line. Big. That and the left back for me are the priorities for the big signings this season.
For me, it's central midfield.
Yeah.
For me, we need 2 ball-busting central midfielders. 1 to give Szoboszlai a break, and 2 to give either Gravenberch or McAllister a break.
Yeah.
But we need people who, we need to start winning these duels. I think that's really utterly key.
We have to go for the guy that we like, Palacios. I still think he's a great player. I think he could.
I've gone off him
still
a little bit, yeah, because he's
like
not dynamic enough. Hey, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree. The duels, until you told me that stat last week, that answered a lot for me. Why, you know, we're probably not scoring as many goals as we should, because we're only winning by 1 and 2 for the last few weeks. We're not getting 4 and 5 goals because, again, we're not pushing forward enough. But we need a Tonali type player. Yeah, you know, I don't know if when I was at the FA Cup, not the League Cup, sorry, at Wembley a couple of weeks ago, he was absolutely stunning. He really was in that midfield. With the others, he was brilliant, and that's the sort of a player we want, a player that can drive forward and score goals as well. I think we need to get some more goals from midfield, personally, because, you know, I know Salah's on the wing, but we should be getting at least 10 to 15 goals from the midfield, like Gerrard used to. You know, Gerrard was regularly scoring goals from the midfield. Lampard and players like that, they score goals regularly from the midfield. We don't have enough players that score consistently from the midfield. That's, I think, is a problem.
I don't know. So for me, it's João Neves from PSG, as I've mentioned before, and Carlos Baleba from Brighton. The ball busting, lung busting, you know, up and down, box to box, destroyer, creator. They can do a bit of everything, but it's more than the goals. If we are to get, like, you know, we're going to concentrate on, for example, a number 9 with great stats, a left winger with great stats, then, you know, we can leave them to getting most.
What about somebody like a similar boy to Endo, Owen, that we had previously, but that's actually got more of the numbers?
Endo with pace is exactly the kind of thing that I'm looking for.
Then you're looking at somebody like Lucas Toro from Osasuna, who's got great numbers.
I don't watch La Liga. I just watch the stats. And
he's 30 years of age, but you could get him on the cheap. You would bring him in as a backup to Gravenberch, and he could rotate easily that way. But
I don't want to buy a backup. I want to buy someone who's going to be absolutely amazing.
Okay.
But one thing I don't buy, though, is the idea that we were very dominant, and now I've heard a lot of pundits saying, it doesn't matter at this stage of the season what you play like. It's, you just need to do enough to win. I've heard a lot of that recently. We weren't particularly dominant earlier in the season. We started off like a house on fire. We beat Ipswich 2-0, Brentford 2-0, Man United 3-0. Then we lost to Forest. Came back to beat Bournemouth 3-0. But then we had lots of 1-goal victories against Wolves, Crystal Palace, Chelsea, Brighton, Southampton. That's going up to the 24th of November. So, it's not as if there were periods this season, all throughout the season, where we've done just enough to win. If we're talking about improving this team, then for me, that's what we need to do, is to improve it to the point where we can dominate for as long as possible. I think we've got the ball players in midfield, but we don't have the ball winners in midfield. And I think that's why I would, increase the balance.
I think I know who you're going to say.
Well, Baleba, I've already said.
Yeah. I knew that was coming, yeah. I agree with you. I would love him. Yeah, absolutely love him. But it all depends on how much we're going to spend this summer on. I think we're going to, for the first time in a long time, as I said before, I'm excited for a transfer window because I believe we're going to spend. I still think we are a product of selling to spend, but we have enough money in surplus now that's going to be a bonus on top of it, I think, this time around.
I think you might be right. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think there was one interesting thing I wanted to bring up in terms of transfers, and we do have to chip off soon, unfortunately, but Matheus Cunha posted something on Instagram and then immediately deleted it. And it basically said, I can't remember the exact wording, was basically, I'm going to follow my dreams and my dreams are not your dreams. So you go and be happy and I'll be happy because I'm following my dreams. So basically, he's saying sayonara, and then he deleted it immediately. So there's Matheus Cunha is definitely leaving. Have you seen enough of him, Faye? Because, his attitude, he seems like a prima donna, but then a lot of great players do. And I don't know, he's just gotten into the Brazil team. I think he's worth a punt. Cunha, have you seen enough of him, Faye?
No, I haven't. He's the Wolves guy, isn't he?
Yeah, the Wolves guy.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of him.
Wolves.
Bellegarde, I've seen a lot of.
Okay.
He's more spoken of, like Kev said, but no, I've not. Wolves have faith now, I think, haven't they? They've had some really couple of good results lately. So sadly, it's my hometown that's going to come and get that third from bottom place. But no, I haven't. I'd be lying if I said I had. But it's going to be interesting. Like Kev said, the transfer market. I know you're adamant about that midfield, Owen, because you said it last week that we definitely need to spruce that up with someone more robust in there.
I've been saying it for about 4 years, to be fair.
I think there's two going to go. I think you're both going to be happy with what's coming in. I think the right hand side of midfield, I don't think he's sold on Szoboszlai fully, and I think that Gravenberch is going to need massive competition in there, and I think Gravenberch is going to be the competition. He's going to be playing all sorts of, maybe even on the side with Maka. I think Jones is going to suffer a bit more next season, more than you think. I'd love for Jones to come on. This is a Scouser, and I'd love for him to do, but I think he's going to suffer more because I think there's just going to be more creative players playing the more forward roles in Liverpool. If we do get that ball buster coming in, you're going to see a more creative flair from the midfield, and maybe it'll step up Jones to not have to pass back so much, and we'll see the real Curtis Jones. I hope that, and then we don't have to buy anybody. If he doesn't need to kind of step back a bit more, constantly pass back, if we do get the ball buster in. But I would say that no, Cunha, a fantastic player. I think he could be a perfect Bobby Firmino replacement, but with goals.
14 goals. I made a mistake. Sorry, 14 goals because he came off the bench and scored today.
There you go. So it just goes to show you. And that statement, I was looking it up there straight away. Time to be happy. I will follow my dreams, not yours. So stay cool, is what he said. That's just what he said. So yeah, that's exactly what it is. And look, I'm kind of I'm looking forward to what's coming. I've never ever looked forward to a transfer window since I was a kid because I just found them stupid. I think it just brings out the crazies and it brings out the silly season and so much disappointment. But for once, I'm just seeing you're seeing the numbers. I'm seeing the numbers. We're seeing what's coming. We're seeing a new management style, a change. I think a lot of our buying was not down to really FSG, but down to Klopp creating a family atmosphere and not want to kind of spoil it. I think lots a bit more ruthless than that, and I think he's just going to bring the right player to suit his type of football, but still maintaining the core fundamentals that we have within the squad, but without sacrificing silverware for it. I think
it's very exciting. So much to look forward to. Thank you so much, Kev. Thank you so much to Faye. Thank you so much to the listener, our dear and cherished crumpets. Does anybody have anything to add? Have we missed anything that you would like to add before?
The only thing I was going to say, do we think Trent will play another game? That was the only thing I wrote down.
If he comes back, I would say yes. I mean, even as a substitute, I mean, Conor Bradley was taken off because he's still working his way back to fitness, but, he's taken off after 60 minutes. And, even as because he will have got the league sewn up by then, which is a beautiful thing to say and believe, that, you could just chuck Trent on at Anfield.
Well, see, I think he might. If we win the league next week or the week after, there's pointless playing Trent, because what for? You might as well, to me, get Bradders in there and get him playing for the rest of the season so he can build his confidence up. To me, if Trent's going, sadly for him, it's a pointless exercise in playing if we've won the league. That's how I see it. Kev, I don't know what Kev thinks.
But hang on, just to clarify, I agree with you 100%. But I mean, just to give Conor, the priority is to give Conor a rest at the end of games, because he's had injury troubles for such a young player, and just so he could play a maximum of 70 minutes every game. And you got Trent to come on for the last 20 minutes. And I hope that the crowd give him, a decent reception, because if he has decided to bugger off, then that's his decision. And I think that's fine. I think everyone can, we'll just have to deal with that. He's got his reasons. And I think we should respect that after he's given us 20 years of his life, from age 6 to 26.
100%. Oh, yeah. I'm just thinking for the good of the team now, because at the end of the day, you could play Gomez, could be coming back. He could have a little run out and play there. You don't necessarily have to have Trent. Bradders could have a rest for the likes of Gomez, Quancha. There's other players that could come in. Curtis Jones played there the other week, just to play there. He didn't do a brilliant job. He was okay. But what I'm saying is, I don't think if we win the league in the next 2 games, to me, I can't see personally Trent. What's the point of him playing? There's no point, you see, because he's not going to bring anything to the team, where those other players, Gomez, could do with another 4 or 5 matches. If he's
very good point.
My only point in the whole lot of that, I get what you're coming from with the 20 years one, but that kind of quashes out the window the instant the player decides not to be open with the fans.
That's right.
And not tell him that he's going to leave. He could have done it months ago and said, look, I want a new challenge, I want to do that, but he hasn't. He's let it go down to the very last month, to the very last few weeks, hasn't said anything, has ignored, has refused to do any interviews, has never indicated once that he wanted to stay. No, that's only going from that point. All of that kind of history is tainted because of that, and that's where it's going to go. That's a lot of people would just like the sentimentality of it, of saying, the 20 years is all great and he's served his time or whatever, but he's leaving after we've trained him up to his peak, and then we're just going to let him walk out the door to Real Madrid side as he's hitting his peak. But I don't care. I think Bradley's a better right back. For me, I wouldn't play Trent Alexander-Arnold anymore, because I would, even if Bradley's coming back and you're giving him time, Gerald Quansah hasn't had much time on the game in the game this season. If we're going to be developing him going along, he should be more of a priority than Trent. We shouldn't be really giving Trent.
Yeah, he's got nothing.
Yeah, and then send him off to Real Madrid nice and fit. Yeah. So I wouldn't do that. The sentimentality thing is gone from me. If he's decided to turn his back in Liverpool, it should work vice versa on both ways. And
you're both very cold. I just want to see one of those Trent passes from the outside of the boot.
I think what will happen is, Owen, he can come on 20 minutes at the Crystal Palace game and say goodbye. There you go.
That would work. That would work. I just want to see one of those passes. Just one for the old days.
I kind of don't want to see that, because I think that'll take away from the whole lifting the trophy scenario.
I see.
I would say maybe do it if you want to do it in the Arsenal game, or do something. I'm just like, why is there any focus being thrown on a guy who's walking away from the club?
Maybe he's going to change his mind at the last minute.
Hopefully. If he does that, man, I'll back him 1,000,000%, exactly like I did with Gerrard.
Yes.
Chelsea back in the day. He'll get my full and utter adoring backing. But if he decides to leave when the team is just going through a perfect transition, where we
Yes.
could do with somebody like him, because he likes playing with the inverted right back role when he does have a proper team to balance. Because Robertson's not up to scratch at the moment with his pace. Simicast is not up to scratch with what Slot likes to do. So we're definitely getting a left back in. If we keep Trent and Bradley in there,
Cool.
and they can play those inverted roles, loving it, because it will suit with his passing range. Salah will benefit from it. It's all about the passing, and Slot likes to play with a back line where the left back, the left centre back, and the right centre back almost become a back three. Going forward, and then that right back kind of moves into the midfield as nearly like the end of a box player role. So if that works, it'll work perfectly for Trent. He's doing it kind of already. He just needs the extra players to kind of help him balance that. But if he decides to turn his back and head that way at 26 years of age, I mean, he could have signed another contract for another at least 3 or 4 years, played 2 more years, got to his peak, and we got a good fee for him then off Real Madrid. He can go with my blessing. But he's leaving on a free. He's going to be as tainted as McManaman was coming in the youth system and walking away, as Owen was when he came through the youth system and walked away for all those years. Because these guys were all there 17 years as well, but they're not lauded upon the same way either. So the sentimentality goes out the window when how you choose to leave. As Klopp says, you're never remembered for how you come into the team, but you're always remembered for how you leave. So, and that's the only way I can see it that way. Yeah.
But it's born of sentimentality. Your frustration to see him leave is all based on emotion, and the fans will all react, differently, and with different emotions about it. But no, I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah,
and I see it. I don't know. We can talk about it forever. It's a great question because I don't know. It's like It's like when something ends in your life, and it could be you change house, or you move to a different neighborhood or whatever. I've moved country like 6 or 7 times, and I still lament the olive bread from my old neighborhood sometimes. But then it's all about cherishing what you do have and not letting that regret take over, and remember how lucky you were to have eaten that olive bread.
No, I think he should be so lucky to be wearing a Liverpool shirt. That's what
I agree, and it is the right decision.
Yeah.
The right decision is to stay. We are all unanimous.
Paddy Pimlet said it himself as a proper out-and-out Scotia, like the rest of them that have been kind of saying it recently. He would give up his career in 3 seconds to do what Trent Alexander-Arnold does for Liverpool in a Liverpool shirt. I think it's just a modern type player that's been tainted by the likes of Real Madrid at the wrong period in his career. That's it.
We would all give it up, wouldn't we, to
100%.
play at Anfield? I mean, even one game, we would be delighted. But Trent's his own person, and I think that needs to be respected as well. If he does want to go and he wants to play against Alaves and Leganés and Osasuna and Getafe, and he wants to travel around Spain and play at, Las Palmas or whatever, then, let him do that. Let him, get some more assists.
I have no problem with that, because I think Conor Bradley's a better player heading right back.
And Liverpool will move on, absolutely. And let's let him just make his own mistakes. Thank you very much to Faye. Excellent, marvelous to have you with us once more, and to Kev, marvelous to have you with us. Excellent to hear both of your views. Thank you so much, and thank you to the listener again. Liverpool are going to win the league. Let's keep our focus on that. I'm about to put on my league-winning pajamas and go to sleep. And I hope wherever you are, your league-winning pajamas fit you nice and snugly, and you can get into your Alisson Becker duvet cover and have a marvelous sleep. So thank you so much. Goodbye. You'll never walk alone. We'll see you next time.